I hadn't expected to run into Ziqianj. Clearly, neither had he. The moment he saw me, he visibly froze for a second. I pushed back the rush of thoughts and forced calm into my voice as I discussed the compensation amount with him. Once everything was settled, I reached out a hand and said, "Sorry for the trouble today." My hand hung in the air. When it became clear he wasn't going to shake it, I felt awkward and began to withdraw. The next moment, his warm hand closed around mine, his eyes dark and intense. He held my hand tightly, so tightly it almost hurt, but I didn't want to remind him. Footsteps sounded outside, and an officer entered with the mediation agreement, indicating we could leave once we'd signed. Ziqianj released my hand, leaned over to pick up a pen, and signed his name neatly in the designated space. Suddenly, the teenage boy from years ago overlapped with the man in a suit before me, and my nose stung with emotion. You're here." The voice beside me pulled me out of my daze. Finally, the troublemaker was awake. The troublemaker was my best friend, Lin Bai. The reason I'd come to the police station in the middle of the night was because this silly girl had gotten drunk, gotten into a fight, and in a fit of anger smashed a bottle against someone's car. When the officers pressed her for a contact, she gave them my number and had me summoned. Right now, I just wanted to settle this quickly. I wasn't ready to face Ziqianji. Bai seemed mostly sober now. I coaxed her into signing, helped her to the entrance of the station, and then guided her into the back seat of the car. "Are you planning to skip out on the payment?" Ziqianji's voice came from behind me. I turned and met his eyes, realizing he was standing very close. "You forgot to leave your contact details." A bit awkwardly, I took out my phone. "Tell me your number and I'll..." Then I saw his phone screen displaying a QR code. It was hard not to suspect he prepared this in advance. The moment I scanned it, the verification went through. When I saw his profile picture, my eyes widened slightly. It was a sketch of him I'd drawn in my exercise book during our final year of secondary school. My finger paused for a second. I pretended not to have noticed, locked my screen and said, "It's very late. I need to take Bai home first. Send me your bank account number, and I'll transfer the money to you later." He pressed his lips together and stared straight at me. "Why are you pretending you didn't see it?" I opened my mouth but couldn't find the words. "Say something." I heard a hint of hurt in his voice, like that 17-year-old boy who'd once held out his hand to show me a scrape. That scrape had been tiny, but back then, his pitiful look had gotten to me, and I'd solemnly stuck a plaster on it. I avoided his gaze. "I'm sorry about today. My car's been towed. You'll have to drive me home." I glanced around. Indeed, the Porsche that had been smashed was nowhere in sight. He had already walked past me, opened the driver's door, and settled into the seat. "Keys." I stood outside looking at him, sighed quietly, and said, "You could call someone to pick you up." He fell silent. I understood. I wouldn't win this. I handed over the keys. "Address?" "No. 71. Haigsing Road." I sat in the back to keep an eye on Bai in case she felt unwell. Luckily, she'd exhausted herself earlier and was now sleeping quietly against the seat. After draping a coat over her, I looked up and met Ziqianji's eyes in the rearview mirror. I stared at him, lost in thought. I'd expected him to ask questions along the way, but he remained silent the entire time, like the calm before a storm. When we stopped at a red light, Ziqianji glanced into the mirror and our eyes met again. Embarrassed, I lowered my gaze, fidgeting with a button on my clothes. About 10 minutes later, we approached my estate. I broke the silence. "Let me take over. You don't know where the parking space is." The car entered the underground car park. I woke Bai and helped her all the way to my flat, with Ziqianj following closely behind. I could feel his intense gaze fixed on me the whole time. Once I'd settled Bai, I poured a glass of water and placed it in front of him. Even though it was my own home, I sat stiffly, feeling terribly restrained. I couldn't deny it. It was guilt that made me this way. "Don't you have anything to explain, Liang Yue?" He used my full name. He was angry. I nervously picked at my clothes, starting to speak several times before stopping myself. "Explain what?" "Explain how I trampled on his feelings back then, and left hiking without looking back. But how could I even begin?" He rubbed his temples. "Forget it. It's very late. You should rest." Are you going back? Trying to get rid of me? I heard the irritation in his voice and explained, I don't have a guest room. You won't be able to rest properly here. I'll sleep on the sofa. I glanced at his long legs and said nothing. The next day, I was startled awake by Bye Bye's scream. A rare weekend with no cases, all ruined by Bye Bye's antics. Rubbing my head, I walked out. After talking with Ziqianj for a while last night, I'd gone to bed but tossed and turned until about 4 in the morning before finally falling asleep. You, why is there a man in your flat? I saw Ziqianj sitting up, his hair tousled. Thinking about it, he was quite pitiful too. His car had been smashed, and he hadn't slept well. I said, he's your creditor. Bye Bye looked shocked. I briefly explained what she'd done while drunk last night. Then I watched as she put on an ingratiating smile and approached him. Hey, handsome. I'm Lin Bye Bye. Really sorry about that. Then she got to the point. So, how much is the compensation? Ziqianj glanced at me and said, Ziqianj, my name. Bye Bye looked shocked again. You're Ziqianj? The one you used to. I sensed she was about to say something she shouldn't, and instantly sobered up, rushing over to cover her mouth and half drag her into the bedroom. Is he the one you've always liked? I gestured for her to lower her voice. I don't dare like him anymore. Rubbish, she exclaimed. I just saw the way you two were looking at each other. It was practically magnetic. You're clearly both into each other. I held my forehead. Bye Bye, don't forget about my family situation. I paused, then added, and not good enough for him. Bye Bye faltered. That's not your fault. I cut her off. But it's because of my family, isn't it? When we came out, I ran into Ziqianj emerging from the bathroom. He paused when he saw me. Sorry, I borrowed it for a moment. His hair was slightly damp, he must have washed his face. It's fine. Where's your friend? She had plans today, so she left already. I thought for a moment. Could you send me your bank account number? I'll pass it on to Bye Bye. He walked past me. Is there anything to eat? I'm hungry. He glanced around, his gaze settling on the kitchen. Yes. He always ate with a slow, deliberate elegance. I tried again. Your account number. Aren't you hungry? I don't eat breakfast. He frowned. He was upset again. It seemed like he'd been like this ever since I ran into him yesterday. Eat. He pushed a piece of bread toward me. Worried he'd get even angrier, I tore off a small piece and put it in my mouth. Do you eat like a bird? So little. I lowered my head, pressed my lips together and stopped eating. He rarely used to speak to me so harshly. A moment later, he sighed, as if helpless. I'm the one who should be upset. Ziqianj was my desk mate in our final year of secondary school. The school reshuffled classes each year, supposedly to immerse students in a competitive environment and fully unleash their potential. The reshuffling meant moving between the top track class and the regular classes. Every term, some students dropped down from the top class, while others moved up from the regular ones. Right at the end of year 12, I became one of the latter. With a nervous heart, I stepped into year 13, class 1. Looking around, the only empty seat was next to Ziqianj, so that naturally became my seat. Later, the old-timers in the class told me that until then, their class had always had an odd number of students, and Ziqianj had been the only one to sit alone for 2 whole years. No wonder he seemed a bit annoyed when he first saw me. Perhaps it was his good upbringing that made him respond when I greeted him. Thinking he might have a short temper, I was careful every day, afraid of disturbing him. And so we coexisted peacefully for a month. The results of the first monthly exam came out quickly. Before announcing the grades, our form teacher summarized the class performance. Class 1 was still the top-performing science class. Now I'd like to praise a student who joined us this term. Liang Yue, full marks in mathematics. Unbelievable. In my surprise, I didn't notice Ziqianj also glancing at me with a look of astonishment. When all the grades were out, my class ranking was 40th, which was also my school-wide ranking. Apart from mathematics, my other subjects were average, some even weaker. Ziqianj, as expected, remained first. In maths, he been deducted 2 points for skipping steps in a major problem, held up by the teacher as a negative example. Because of maths, I gained a bit of a reputation in class. One by one, classmates started coming to me with questions. Ziqian often napped during breaks. At first, I worried that discussing problems might bother him, but he never said anything. His fluffy nape faced me. It looked quite endearing. One day, another classmate came over with a question. Her name was Lin Yin. She was outgoing and popular. After a few exchanges, we became familiar. The question was from the exercise book. I looked at it before, but hadn't solved it. Sorry, Yin Yin. I can't do this one. Lin Yin let out an ah, then said, It's all right. I'll ask the teacher next time. I looked at her apologetically and was about to return the exercise book when a pale hand reached over. A finger pointed to the complex solid geometry diagram. Here, draw an auxiliary line. I froze, not realizing Ziqian had woken up. He made a soft TSK sound, leaned closer, picked up a pencil from the desk, and drew a line. Now, substitute the formula. He was teaching us how to solve it. Once it sunk in, I listened carefully. Understood? Then not untangled. I nodded repeatedly. Thank you. No need. I then looked up at Lin Yin, who had been standing beside us listening. Yin Yin, did you understand? Lin Yin wore an expression of bewilderment I couldn't decipher. Yin Yin? She looked at me meaningfully. You and Ziqianji. Never mind. I think I just witnessed something remarkable. Yes, I understood. Thanks to you. Then she hugged her exercise book and left, leaving me thoroughly confused. I didn't know that before this. He had always condensed his explanations to the barest minimum, and simply tossed them over for others to figure out. I also didn't notice that Ziqianji, who had slumped back into his seat beside me, was frowning. His blank exercise sheet now covered with the character U. He then, rather conspicuously, stuffed it between his textbooks. Ziqian and I gradually became more familiar, though most of the time we only talked about problems. Well, he taught me how to solve them. I discovered he was exceptional not just academically, but in other areas too. I learned this from overhearing his conversations with friends. Like painting, he'd won a provincial youth painting award. Like basketball, his friends always called him to play, saying he could solo the entire court. I saw him doodling during a break and couldn't help asking, What are you drawing? Ziqian, unusually, showed a flicker of panic and slipped the paper into his desk drawer. He fell silent for a moment, and suddenly smiled as if remembering something. Drawing the moon. Can I see? He propped his chin on his hand. Curious? I heard you're really good at painting. He chuckled. Next time. It's not finished yet. His smile was lovely, carrying the clarity of youth. My mood lifted along with it. All right. Do you want to learn? Learn what? Drawing, he said seriously. I can teach you. Ah, but wouldn't that distract from studying? He reached over and flicked my forehead lightly. I gasped and covered the spot. Hey, it's not all about studying. You can do other things when you're tired of it. He laughed. When I'm tired of studying, I just want to sleep. I didn't voice that thought. But afterwards, Ziqian clearly napped much less during breaks. He seemed genuinely keen on teaching me to draw. Whenever I had a free moment, he'd bring over a sketchbook and show me how to draft lines. After a while, I started to think I might have a bit of an artistic streak. So, full of enthusiasm, I tried to sketch Ziqian's portrait in my exercise book with my second-rate skills. All right, I have no artistic talent whatsoever. After a struggle, I gave up. I looked at Ziqian dejectedly. He held back a laugh. You've done really well. It must have been hard for him managing to comfort me while looking at a portrait that bore less than 50% resemblance to him. Our form teacher called us to his office after school on Friday. He wanted us to share our study experiences during the upcoming parents' evening. Ziqian was consistently outstanding, while I was steadily improving. Teachers always seemed to have life lessons to impart. So the two of us listened in his office until the sky grew dark outside. Where do you live? Xiangge Estate. Come on, I'll walk you home. Hearing he wanted to walk me back, I stopped in my tracks. Pressing my lips together, I said, No need. He pointed at the sky. It's getting late. It's not safe for you to go alone. I said no need. Irritation crept into my voice. You go ahead. No. I looked silently at the handsome boy in front of me, then turned and walked away. His footsteps followed behind me. Why are you upset? He sounded puzzled. I didn't know where this emotion came from either. I was just worried about you. I knew. Don't be upset. I wasn't upset. Liang Yue? You? I stiffened. Moon? My face felt like it was on fire. I stopped abruptly. Don't call me that randomly. He stepped in front of me. Is the moon no longer upset? My name isn't Moon. And I'm not upset. I just didn't want you to possibly encounter my ugliness. This inexplicable feeling, I didn't know its source. Maybe it was because he was too bright, too pure. Compared to him, I always carried a hidden sense of inferiority. He leaned down slightly. No, you are the moon. He sounded sincere. I could hear it. Don't call me that. I pushed past him and kept walking. Shy now? I quickened my pace. Moon? He caught up effortlessly. Long legs really are enviable. Can I call you Moon from now on? No. All right then, Moon. Without realizing it, we were getting closer to home. Zhao Yu? I focused. Mum? Ziqianj stopped walking. Hello, Auntie. Mum seemed to notice him only then. You are. I'm Liang Yu's classmate. School ran late today, so I'm walking her back. He looked every bit the well-behaved student a world away from the boy who'd been teasing me just moments ago. Oh, I see. I noticed the bag in Mum's hand. Mum, what did you buy? She shifted it behind her back. Nothing much. I sensed something was off. I turned to Ziqianj. Deskmate, I'm almost home. You should head back. Thank you. Ziqianj also picked up on the tension. All right. He turned to my mum again. Goodbye, Auntie. Once Ziqianj had walked away, I gripped the straps of my backpack. Was it medicine, wasn't it? Did he hit you again? Mum flinched. No, I just noticed we were running low on household supplies, so... I stepped closer and lifted her sleeve, revealing a fresh bruise. What's this? She stayed silent. What I was hiding wasn't just a poor family background. It was that I had a father who drank heavily and had served time, and a mother who endured domestic violence but was too timid to divorce him. That was my ugliness. The ugliness I didn't want Ziqianj to see. The flat was a mess. Shattered bottles littered the floor. Chairs lay overturned. I put my school bag in my room and came out silently to clean up. A scene like this meant Mum had been hit badly enough that she couldn't tidy up immediately. She had to go out for medicine first. The door to the main bedroom was slightly ajar. I knew my father was inside, dead drunk. After taking out the rubbish, I saw Mum applying ointment in my room. She'd lifted her top a little, struggling to reach the bruises. Let me do it. The beating had been severe. Her lower back was mottled with purple-green marks. My heart clenched painfully. When I spoke again, my voice was thick. Mum, please get a divorce. The two of us can manage just fine. You. Don't bring that up again. You haven't done anything wrong. Why should you endure this? Unless, is it true about you and Uncle Wang? Mum lowered her voice sharply. You. I knew I'd crossed a line and felt a pang of unease. Sorry, Mum. I was just angry and... Mum? I saw the tears welling in her eyes and panicked instantly. I'm sorry, Mum. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. She hugged me tightly. You. Just bear with it a little longer. Once you get into university, everything will be better. Then you can leave, go far away, and never come back. I held her just as tightly. Once you get into university, everything will be better. I'd heard Mum say this many times before. But every time, she only talked about me leaving. I didn't understand. Yet, I also knew that getting into university might be my only way to escape my father. It was also the drive behind my hard work scraping into the top secondary school, then inching forward bit by bit until I made it into the top track class. My mother's tears soaked through the fabric on my shoulder. I thought, just a little longer, and I can take Mum away with me. When the time comes, she'd definitely leave with me. Once everything settled, I picked up my phone and saw a new friend request in my notifications. The note said, Ziqianj, My mind flashed back to this evening. Qianji calling me Moon over and over. The smile on his lips, the evening breeze lifting his fringe. Bright and clear. I tapped accept. A message from him arrived the next second. XQ. You're still awake? I checked the time, midnight. The earlier commotion had taken a while. I just finished showering. Me. Doing homework. XQ. Working that hard? Planning to overtake me next time? Me. I'd like to, but I'm not there yet. XQ, I'll tutor you. I paused. Actually, he'd already spent a lot of time helping me lately. My English was weak, especially grammar. He'd made up several grammar close exercises for me, analyzing each question one by one. Me. I can't afford tutoring fees. XQ. Yes, you can. I was curious. His family was well off. According to Yin, even his trainers cost 4 figures, far more than my monthly allowance. Anything he wanted surely wouldn't be cheap. Me. I have no money. He sent an emoji of a cartoon hand knocking on a head. XQ, not money. Consider it an IOU. I'll collect later. I didn't know how to reply. A minute later, another message came. XQ. Don't want it. The image of Mum holding me and crying resurfaced in my mind. I stared at the screen and slowly typed. Want it. I didn't just want to get into university. I wanted to get into the best one. I didn't just want to escape this place, I wanted to give Mum a good life. Holding on to this thought of getting into university and leaving for good, I poured more and more time into studying. What's going on with you lately? My hand, turning a page, stilled. Qianji pressed his hand down on the book, his expression disapproving. Even if you want to overtake me, pushing yourself this hard will backfire. Stop reading. Take a break. Since that day, I'd been staying an extra half hour after school to work on problems. The classroom was usually empty. Under the guise of being my tutor, he stayed too. Now the room was hollow and quiet except for his voice. No. I tried to pull the book from under his hand. He anticipated it, swiftly snatching it away and standing up. When I reached for it, he'd already lifted it high above his head. I glanced at the book, now far out of my reach, and glared at him. Give it back. Come and get it yourself. I took a deep breath, jumped as high as I could, and still couldn't reach it. Theft. He laughed. My face flushed hot. You're being mean. He tilted his head, trying to swallow his smile. Am I? Yes. From morning till afternoon today, I haven't seen you lift your eyes from a textbook once. Aren't you tired? He tucked the book behind his back. Well. Qianji suddenly leaned in, his face coming very close to mine. I grew nervous and took 2 steps back. None of your business. The moon has no heart. I've been tutoring you so diligently, and this is how you treat me. A wave of guilt hit me. Sorry. His eyes crinkled. After the sports day, there's a basketball match. Come and watch me play. His smile was too beautiful, his eyes seemed to hold scattered starlight. As our gazes held, I heard the pounding of my own heart. All right, I answered him. The sports day was in December. This year, our class had chosen formal little dresses as our costume. A nude color, with sequins scattered across the bodice. Layers of sheer tulle over the lining. Before I left home, Mum had braided my hair into a half-up style. You look so pretty. She touched my head, her expression tinged with a melancholy I couldn't quite decipher. My daughter will walk out of here very soon. I held her hand and said, We'll walk out together. Father was still sound asleep in the main bedroom. In the quiet room, only our figures leaned against each other. When Yin found out I didn't know how to apply makeup and didn't he own any, she brought her entire kit. She said she'd make me outshine everyone. It was also the first time I saw myself with a full face of makeup. Wow. You was already pretty, but now you're stunning. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, and shyly tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Softly, I asked, Really? Hey, don't be so unsure of yourself. Yin suddenly thought of something. Hey, is Qianji here yet? The sports day started at 9 a.m. It was just past 8 a.m. when we were doing makeup. Not yet. Disappointed? She grinned mischievously. Once you're all made up, of course your personal tutor should see you. Yin Yin. Don't say things like that. I thought, if not for the makeup covering my skin, my face would surely be bright red. All right, I won't. I need to go get the class placard now. Yin Yin was the prettiest girl in our class and had been chosen to carry the placard at the front of our formation. I watched as many people greeted her along the way. She moved like a butterfly fluttering into a field of flowers, beautiful and dazzling. As the main flag bearer, Zi Qianju wore a white shirt and suit trousers that day. I ran into him in the classroom before the opening ceremony. When he saw me, his gaze seemed to catch and hold. Feeling nervous, I finally gathered the courage to ask what I wanted to know. Is it not nice? The corner of his mouth lifted, his eyes softening with a gentle warmth. He said, It's lovely. So lovely it made me lose my train of thought. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond, but I clearly felt a sweet warmth rising in my chest. I looked at him carefully. He'd styled his hair too. I'd overheard classmates whispering they called it a comma fringe. His handsome brows and eyes were now fully visible. Looking at him, I said earnestly, You look very nice too. He reached out and gently pinched my burning earlobe. The sports day opening ceremony was a success. Perhaps thanks to Yin Yin and Zi Qianj, the entire school now knew that Class 1 of Year 13 was not only academically strong, but also full of good-looking students. At the end, we stood on the bleachers for a class photo. Hey, classmate, you're too tall, you're blocking someone here. The student helping with the photography was pointing in my direction. Confused, I glanced left and right, then felt a hand gently turn my head. He's talking about me. That distinct voice, it was Zi Qianji. He stepped down from the row above and stood beside me. Look at the camera. Back home that evening, I opened the constantly buzzing QQ group. Classmates were sharing photos from the day. I didn't have many, only the group shot. In it, Zi Qianj leaned slightly toward me, his features clear and handsome. The basketball match was an inter-class friendly. I was still in the classroom working on problems when Yin Yin rushed over excitedly to drag me to the court. I glanced at the clock on the wall. There's still half an hour until it starts. Isn't it a bit early to go down now? Yin Yin looked at me as if I were hopeless. You need to buy water. You need to cheer for Zi Qianj before the match. Why buy water? To give to Zi Qianji. Standing at the edge of the court with a bottle of water in my hand, I couldn't help feeling awkward. Yin Yin pulled me, and we pushed through the crowd. Zi Qianj, I brought her. Yin Yin shouted through cupped hands so loudly it made me jump. At the same time, I saw Zi Qianju had been seriously discussing tactics with his teammates, turn and look over. His eyes lit up and he started walking toward me. The sleeveless jersey showed off the lines of his muscles clearly. The girls nearby let out soft gasps of admiration. Why did you only come now? He stopped in front of me, a smile playing on his lips. I was working on problems. I took a small step back so I wouldn't have to crane my neck so much to look at him. So my match isn't even as important as one problem. He sounded a little disappointed. No, I promised I'd come, When I saw his smile widen noticeably, I felt annoyed at my own eagerness. He glanced at the drink in my hand. Did you buy that water for me? I remembered how Yin Yin had urgently dragged me to the canteen, paid for the water, and then whispered repeatedly. Later, you have to say you bought this for Zi Qian yourself. I hesitated between telling the truth and lying. It's not. If he had ears, I suspected they would have drooped just then. Suddenly feeling anxious, I blurted out, It is. If I said no, he'd be hurt. That thought rose unbidden in my mind. His hand came down on my head, ruffling my hair gently. Noon. He smiled, the corners of his mouth forming a lovely curve. I'm happy. Just then, the whistle blew. He looked back, his teammates were calling him. Remember to watch the whole match. With that, he turned and jogged back onto the court. His running figure was unrestrained and full of energy. Watching his back, I unconsciously pressed a hand to my chest. It was beating so fast. Lin Yin, who had disappeared earlier, suddenly reappeared and gave me a thumbs up. You're learning, kid. Embarrassed, I pushed her thumb down. The atmosphere on the court was electric. The players fought fiercely, defending and attacking. The students on the sidelines cheered for their respective classes, erupting in cheers with every basket. Ziqianj was undoubtedly the standout. After sinking 2 shots in a row, the chants of his name completely drowned out those for the opposing class. Yin Yin, as the atmosphere leader, had already shouted herself hoarse. Carried away by the excitement, I couldn't help calling out, Ziqianjie you. At that moment, I saw him smile at me and give a slight nod before turning back to the game. During the halftime break, Ziqianj discussed tactics with his teammates. As the main player, he hadn't been substituted. Watching his sweat-dampened fringe, I thought, I wish he could rest for a bit. Finally, the last whistle blew. The referee announced the end of the match. The scoreboard showed blue 36, red 32. Blue team won our class. Classmates swarmed around them, handing out towels and water. I saw a girl offer both a towel and a bottle of water to Ziqianj. He took the towel but pushed the water back. Glancing at the sports drink in my own hand, I suddenly didn't know whether I should step forward. A large, handsome hand simply took the bottle from my grip. At the same time, his voice sounded above me. Wasn't this bought for me? Why are you spacing out here? His pupils were dark and clear, his jawline sharp. I saw you take the towel, and you refused the water, so I thought, you didn't want any. I took the towel because I didn't want to get close to you with a sweaty face. But I only want your water. Moon, you're different. His eyes were deep. Looking into them seriously felt like being drawn into a trance. He added, never mind. I shouldn't expect you to understand that yet. I stared blankly as he finished speaking, twisted the cap open, and gulped down half the bottle in one go. Different? How different? Instinctively, I didn't dare think too much about it. Lin Yin stood nearby wearing a knowing, auntie-like grin, then quietly slipped away again. Hey, Qianj, coming to eat with us later? The class sports rep called from a distance probably for a victory celebration. Not going. He refused. The group of boys nudged each other. The sports rep teased. Right, you're different from us. The drawn-out tone was full of meaning. Ziqianj waved them off, then turned back to me. Let's go back. I'll walk you home. The match had been scheduled for Friday afternoon. It was now 6:30 p.m. Quite late. Hearing the words, walk you home, I immediately replied, no need. I can go by myself. He frowned. Why? Every time I offer to walk you back, you resist. Why? My lips moved, but I said nothing. Worried your parents will misunderstand our relationship. Don't worry, I'll explain. A hint of irritation tinged his voice. He should have been in a good mood today, and I'd ruined it again. After a moment's thought, I lightly tugged the corner of his jersey and voiced the question I'd held back for so long. You don't need to be this good to me. He paused, his gaze lingering on me, then said coolly, you haven't even surpassed me in grades yet, and you're already burning bridges. I was speechless. He let out a soft, derisive laugh. That day, Ziqianji still walked me home all the way. Several times I wanted to speak, but seeing his expressionless face, my courage instantly vanished. For the next few days, Ziqian remained distant. He would still write answers on a notepad and slide it over when I was stuck on a problem. But he wouldn't initiate conversation. I wasn't used to it. Today was the same. Maybe because I wasn't feeling well, a wave of overwhelming grievance suddenly washed over me. For 2 whole lessons, I lay with my head on the desk. Ziqianj watched me for a long time, lips pressed tight, before finally asking, are you unwell today? I turned my head to the other side, feeling a small, inexplicable sulkiness. Even I wondered where this petty mood came from. Later, people would call it acting up. His cool hand reached over to feel my forehead. No fever. The next second, he gripped my arm. I gasped sharply in pain. Let go. His brow furrowed. Without another word, he rolled up my sleeve, revealing a series of shocking bruises. I shrank back. What are you doing? His gaze turned dark. He left his seat, said something to Lin Yin, then came back and pulled me up from my chair. To the school clinic. His voice was colder than it had been during the basketball match, like shards of ice. The school nurse drew a sharp breath when she saw the injuries. Who did this? Ziqianj stared straight at me, making me feel that if I gave a name, he would go and fight them to the death. I hadn't expected her to see through it so quickly. I tried to cover. No one, Young lady, you can't fool me with that. After applying ointment to the bruises, she asked, are there more anywhere else? On my back. I glanced at Ziqianj leaning against the wall and didn't answer. Seeing my evasive look, he turned and left the room. By the time he returned, the medicine had been applied, and I was holding the ointment tube the nurse had given me. Who hit you? Feeling defensive, I smiled wryly. Would you go and hit them back for me? Yes. His jaw tightened, and he said almost through gritted teeth, I take half their life. That fierce expression was something I'd never seen on him before. Around me, apart from his initial aloofness, he had always been gently forceful. He had been so good to me, better than my own family. What if I said it was my father? I watched him closely, not wanting to miss a single shift in his expression. Ziqianj was momentarily stunned. I smiled. Deskmate, I'm not worth you treating me this well. You always call me Moon, but the moon hangs high in the sky, casting a pure, holy light, noble and cool. Someone like me, stuck in the mud. How could I deserve that name? The father in my memory rarely showed warmth. He was violent, alcoholic and cruel. When I was very young, I saw him dead drunk. While Mum was clearing the table, he suddenly slapped her across the face. The blood at the corner of her mouth scared me to tears. But I didn't dare cry, because that would bring his beating. The neighbors were regularly disturbed by the fights in our flat. At first, they always urged Mum to divorce. But every time, Mum refused. Gradually, no one advised her anymore. There was an Uncle Huang in the neighborhood. He was gentle and kind-hearted. After one of countless fights, Mum ran into Uncle Huang. Seeing the bruises on her face, he went home, gathered some medicine and gave it to Mum. But my father confronted them. He accused Mum of having an affair. That day's scene was chaotic to the extreme. Medicine scattered everywhere. Mum, hair disheveled, was kicked aside. Uncle Wang couldn't match my father's strength. His head hit the steps and 2 ribs were broken. Later there was a lawsuit. My father was sentenced to 3 years in prison. After that, we moved to Haikeng. No employer would hire someone with a criminal record. After his release, the only work my father could find was as a delivery rider. From then on, it got worse. He became even more violent toward my mother and me. Some people urged Mum to escape while father was in prison. But she didn't. Why? I asked her again and again, why? She would always hug me and say, it's Mum who failed you. I'm sorry. A sense of powerlessness flooded me. Sometimes I hated them too, hated why I was born, hated my father's cruelty, hated my mother's weakness. But then I remembered when I was little and my father's temper flared. It was Mum who held me tightly in her arms, shielding me from harm. It was also Mum who stayed by my side through every nightmare and illness, never changing her clothes, never resting. As a mother, she was both cowardly and tenacious. How did today's injuries happen? When I returned from school, I saw my father kicking and punching Mum. He picked up a stick from somewhere and was about to swing it at her. I threw myself forward and took those blows. In the end, he let us go, saying, you too, don't even think about leaving me in this lifetime. Oh, and he nudged me with his foot. Your grades have been pretty good lately, haven't they? Study hard. Earn big money for your old man. I trembled all over, feeling as if I'd heard the whisper of a demon. This is my family. This is why I resisted every time you offered to walk me home. I was afraid you'd run into my parents, afraid you'd learn about my ugliness. Deskmate, I've never been worth your kindness. Ziqianj leaned down and brushed away the tears on my cheek with his fingertips. Don't cry, Moon. It hurts me to see. He wanted to hug me but hesitated because of my injuries. Instead, he gently cupped my face. Your birth wasn't a mistake. Your worth isn't judged by your family. You are good. There is nothing ugly about you. The one at fault is your father. The moon is worthy. You are more deserving than anyone. No one had ever heard me talk about my life, only Ziqianj. I thought he would distance himself from me, would look down on me. I had imagined many possible reactions if he found out. But I never expected him to be so gentle. Years of bitterness finally found an outlet. I wrapped my arms around Zi Qianji's waist and wept uncontrollably. His hand patted my head softly, as if comforting a wronged child. The term ended after final exams. Zi Qianj and I walked home together. Ever since he learned about my family, I'd stopped resisting his company on the way back. Strangely, since that day, my father had stopped hitting my mother and me. The way he looked at me now held a certain wariness. Mum once asked me indirectly if I'd met someone influential. I couldn't help thinking of the tall boy beside me. His family background was worlds apart from mine, and it was said there were even political connections. Why are you staring at me? Watch the road. Did you speak to my parents? He pulled me closer, avoiding an electric scooter that had veered too near. He neither confirmed nor denied it. Winter had set in. The wind blew sharp and cold, but my heart felt warm. I hooked a finger into the hem of his jacket, my tone unconsciously soft. Deskmate, you're really kind. A faint flush spread over Zi Qianji's ears. You'll have to pay it all back later. I thought, no matter what, I owed Zi Qianj far too much. So I replied, okay. His tone turned teasing. Aren't you going to ask what you'll pay back with? I said calmly, no need to ask. Not afraid I'll sell you off. You wouldn't. He broke into a bright smile. The moon is a little fool. I gave him a light punch. He took it, then gently touched my cheek. Even I could feel that the atmosphere between us had changed, crossing well beyond ordinary friendship. Yin Yin asked daily about progress. When she learned Zi Qianj and I hadn't even properly held hands yet, she expressed disdain toward him. You're so slow. He raised an eyebrow. No hurry. She gets shy. Yin Yin squealed. I'm getting diabetes from this sweetness. I pretended not to hear their conversation, burying my head in vocabulary flashcards. When the bell rang and Yin Yin returned to her seat, Zi Qianji said offhandedly, You've written this word 51 times. Still haven't memorized it. He chuckled, lowering his voice. Moon. Wait until after the Gaokao. After the Gaokao. Then what? He didn't specify, so I simply acted as though I didn't understand. Everything seemed to be moving in a good direction. My father still drank, but he never laid hands on us again. Once, he stared at me and smiled. What a good daughter I have. Marry into a wealthy family someday, and it'll be a blessing for me too. His voice was like a cold snake coiling around me. The many nights after, I dreamed of him covered in blood, strangling me and shouting, It's all you wretched women's fault. The calendar pages turned one after another. The Gaokao was approaching. A few days before the exams, during the quiet evening study session, someone in the classroom suddenly called out, Look outside. Everyone looked up, followed by gasps of amazement. So beautiful. The golden light of the setting sun gilded the clouds on the horizon. Deep and light hues mingled like spilled paint, breathtakingly brilliant. In that moment of beauty, I turned excitedly to pull Zi Qianji's attention. Deskmate, look. The instant our eyes met, amid the classroom buzzing over the sunset, it felt as if only the two of us had fallen into a timeless space. I held my breath. The boy before me had his hair tinged gold by the twilight. His deep peach blossom eyes held only me. Flustered, I looked away, hastily telling him to look outside instead. He obediently glanced out. I asked eagerly, Isn't it stunning? Zi Qianji's gaze shifted between me and the sky, as if weighing something important. His voice was captivating. Not as beautiful as the moon. The Gaokao arrived as scheduled. Before entering the exam hall, classmates were still clutching last-minute poetry booklets, terrified they'd forget everything the moment they stepped inside. Zi Qianj was as unflustered as ever, even watching me murmur revisions with apparent leisure. I shot him a look and spread the booklet between us. You should look too. He glanced at it, then back at me. Don't be nervous. Your monthly exam scores this term have consistently been over 10 points above Beta's admission line from previous years. You'll make it. His words were soothing. My anxious heart calmed a little. I muttered quietly, Don't be so confident in me. He tapped my forehead. I'm confident in my own teaching. Amid the summer cicadas, I said to him, Thank you. Thank you for always teaching me. Thank you for comforting me when I was down. Thank you for staying by my side even after learning everything. Thank you for helping clear the obstacles, so I could focus on the Gaokao. Ziqianj, I often wondered, how many lifetimes of luck did I spend to meet you? He tucked a stray strand of my hair behind my ear, his gaze so profound it seemed to pull one in. I told you, all of this will be paid back. Then he covered my eyes with his hand. Don't look at me like that. It makes me feel like a villain. I blinked in the darkness and smiled softly. You're not. Deskmate is the best person in the world. People are easily fooled by life's illusions. I was one of them. Back then, I was too naive. I dreamed that years of hard work would earn me an offer from my dream university, imagined a bright future, and even dared to hope that I could be with him. I lost myself in that dream, thinking I'd been given life's sweet candy. But everything shattered on the afternoon of the 9th, after the final exam ended. Last subject, Jia Yu. Under the shade of a tree, sunlight filtered through leaves, dappling Zi Qianji's figure. Okay. He raised an eyebrow. Just okay. I thought for a moment, then added, You too. Jia Yu. The gates to the exam building opened. Students were already filing in. Zi Qianji's and my exam halls were in Building 1 and Building 3 respectively. After encouraging each other, we parted ways. Time ticked by. Suddenly, a sharp pain clenched my heart, leaving me breathless. It lasted several minutes. Fine sweat beaded on my forehead. The invigilator noticed and came over quietly. Student, are you unwell? I shook my head weakly, forcing myself to hold on. By then, I'd completed most of the paper, leaving only some blanks and the essay. After a few breaths, the thread-like pain finally faded. I gathered my focus and returned to the questions. But I didn't know why. After the pain, a hollow, panicky feeling remained. Was it just nerves? I thought of Mum hugging me and saying, once you get into university, everything will be better. And Zi Qianji telling me earnestly, you can do it. Like a deflated tire being pumped up, I could roll forward again. I steadied my mind and went back to the paper. When the final moment arrived, I checked there were no missed questions, then laid the paper flat. Outside the window, the evening was quiet. In about an hour, a beautiful sunset would likely appear. Zi Qianji's face floated before my eyes. The corner of my mouth lifted. Students were already emerging in the corridor, cheering the end of high school, relieved to be free from the grind. The teacher announced we could leave. I merged into the crowd of spirited young people. Amid the bustling crowd, I faintly heard someone calling my name. I turned to look. Liang Yue. Liang Yue. Our form teacher pushed through the crowd. Flustered and urgent. Something's happened at home. Go back quickly. My heart lurched. The same panic from the exam hall spread through my body instantly. I shoved through the crowd and ran as if my life depended on it. A premonition washed over me. I had already lost something and was about to lose more. When I reached home in the teacher's car, police had already cordoned off the area. Neighbors stood whispering. I saw the open door, a glaring trail of blood winding out from inside. My mind went blank with a boom. Hello, are you Liang Yue? I looked dazedly at the officer and nodded numbly. We'll need your cooperation for some inquiries. I tried to walk past him inside, but the officer stopped me. Student Liang, you shouldn't look inside just yet. The pity in his eyes was unmistakable, making it hard to breathe. I wanted to ask whose blood it was, but my throat had gone so dry I couldn't make a sound. Dead? Who? I still saw the scene. Father lay in a pool of blood, eyes fixed on the doorway. Blood bubbling from his neck. Mother lay beside him. Tear tracks on her cheeks. A faint smile on her bruised lips. Her wrist a mangled mess of flesh. Grief? I didn't know if I even felt that emotion. It was as if my heart had been ripped out, leaving a hollow emptiness. The flat was a crime scene. Forensic personnel were still collecting evidence. I was taken to the police station. Somehow, Zi Qianji got the news. He arrived looking frantic, probably having run there, sweat beaded on his forehead. He rushed over and held me tightly, as if I were a treasure almost lost. I clung to him, gripping his clothes. The delayed wave of sorrow finally crashing down. Deskmate, I don't have a home anymore. I don't have a mum anymore. Deskmate, what do I do? What do I do? From bewildered whispers to wrenching sobs. Qianji's shirt was soon soaked with tears. He held me, stroking my hair, telling me over and over, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." That night, I stayed in a hotel with 2 female officers. Qianji and my form teacher had wanted to take me with them, but were stopped by the police. From their looks, I guessed they were afraid I might harm myself. I lay on the unfamiliar bed, exhausted beyond measure, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, all the results were in. At my request, Qianji waited outside while I sat alone in the room to hear the conclusions. When the officer stated it, my body swayed. Based on neighbors' accounts, on-scene evidence, and the forensic report, your mother killed your father before taking her own life. The officer laid out the investigation findings and evidence before me. That day, my father had gotten into a dispute, stormed home early, and started drinking in the living room. Seeing my mother wasn't at work, he started hurling vicious insults. He was shouting the most awful things, saying his wife had ruined his life, that she was lazy, not working. Then, faintly, I heard the word "gal kao," followed by the sound of something breaking and crying. That family was always like that. It had been quieter lately. I thought the man had changed. My guess is he hit her hard this time, and she snapped. The weapon used to kill my father was the same fruit knife my mother used on herself. Only our family's fingerprints were on it. Before she died, my mother sent a text to an unfamiliar number. "We've contacted her. It's your aunt. She received the message yesterday and came from the capital. She's on her way to the station now." After the officer left, Qianji came in. He silently held my hand. I said to him numbly, "Mum took leave because she wanted to give me flowers outside the school gate after my last exam. Otherwise, she would have been at work yesterday afternoon. It's all my fault. It's because of me. If it weren't for me, none of this would have happened." I trembled all over, convinced I was the one to blame. The next moment, darkness swallowed my vision. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard Qianji's panicked voice. "Loon." I woke in a hospital bed, blurred vision catching a woman's silhouette. My heart clenched. I called out, voice trembling, "Mum?" The figure swayed. A hoarse voice answered, "I'm your aunt." Later, this suddenly appearing aunt and Qianji helped me handle all the funeral arrangements. I chose graves far apart from my parents. If there is a next life, I hope they never meet again. Afterward, my aunt told me a story I'd never heard before. After university, my mother went to teach in a remote mountain village. The locals, seeing her beauty and education, conspired to trap her there, locking her up. It was my father, part of the same university's volunteer team, who rescued her. That rescue sparked feelings in my mother. They began dating. As the youngest daughter, Mum was deeply loved, but my grandfather never approved of her marrying my father. First, it was a distant marriage. Second, my father couldn't offer her a good life. But my mother was determined. She stole the household register and married him in secret. In anger, my grandfather said he disowned her. From then on, Mum cut ties with her family. Xiaoyi was so stubborn. "Actually, your grandparents had long forgiven her, but we could never reach her afterward. Later, your grandparents passed away one after another. Their biggest regret was speaking those harsh words in anger, which meant they never saw Xiaoyi again. If only she'd listened back then, she wouldn't have." My aunt trailed off, but I understood what she meant. "But what good did if only do now? And that boy who's been with you all this time, who is he?" she asked. "Is he your boyfriend?" I shook my head. In those few days, I gained a new understanding of Qianji's status. The swift handling of my parents' case owed much to his influence. His mother had come to see me, without him knowing. Qianji's mother wore head-to-toe designer labels I'd only seen in ads. Even her hair was impeccably styled. Uneasy, I looked at her. She gave a slight, reassuring smile. "Don't worry. I was just curious to see the girl who made Xiaoji use family connections. I've heard about your family situation. Please accept my condolences. Once your Gaokar results come out, I can sponsor your university studies." Her words carried subtle pressure. I said, "I have my own money." Mum had left me a bank card money for university, mentioned in the message she'd sent my aunt. My aunt had already given it to me. She seemed taken aback by my refusal, pausing briefly before regaining her composure. You're clever. You must understand why I came to see you. Student Liang, you're both young. It's normal to have dreams about the future. But you should know the gap between you is immense. Even if I didn't intervene, it wouldn't last. Simply put, in every aspect you are not his match. Her eyes turned sharp, her tone leaving no room for doubt. After she left, I looked at the coffee she'd paid for, its aroma rich. I took a sip, my first ever taste of coffee so bitter it nearly brought tears to my eyes. Later, when I earned my own money, I always ordered coffee with extra sugar. What Si Qianji's mother said made sense. How could I ever match him? He was so good, so outstanding it made me feel unworthy. Before, I'd indulged in fantasy, greedy for the warmth he gave. But do you want to be with him? I stayed silent. My aunt sighed. If you like him, you could try. I can tell that boy cares deeply for you. I said. It's over. We won't be together. Once the paperwork was done, I finally returned home once. In the living room, traces of that day's chaos were still faintly visible. I didn't linger. I'd come only to pack. My aunt planned to take me to the capital. Tomorrow, the Gaokao results would be released. By then, I would likely already be on a plane to the capital. After dragging my suitcase back to the hotel and settling in, I saw Si Qianji's messages. It was 11:30 p.m. My aunt was already asleep in the other bed. XQ. Once the results come out tomorrow, let's both apply to Beta, okay? Me. Okay, XQ. Can we meet tomorrow then? Before I could reply, he sent another flurry of messages. XQ. You've been so busy these past 2 days, I didn't want to bother you. He'd been speaking to me very carefully lately, meticulously mindful of my emotions. Zhu. There are things I want to say to you. Is that okay? We agreed to meet at 8:30 a.m. Results would be released at 9 a.m. me. Okay. That night, he talked with me about so many things. About Beta's canteens, about the major he wanted to choose, about his future plans. Looking at the screen full of later, you and I will, tears streamed down my face. Every step of his vision included me. I hid under the covers, hand pressed over my mouth to stifle my sobs. I'm sorry, Ziqian. 8 a.m. Hanxi Airport. My aunt noticed my distracted state and asked, Do you want to see your friends once more? We can change the flight. No, let's board. I switched off my phone and never turned it on again. The first thing I did in the capital was get a new phone and a new number. It felt like shedding every trace of the past. Later, when my results came out, I hadn't made it into Beta. I didn't have the heart to repeat the final year. Instead, I chose Z University, known for its law program. To say I held no illusions would be a lie. Both Beta and Z University were in the capital. I secretly hoped that one day, on some street, I might run into him. Just once in a while, at some intersection, to catch a distant glimpse of him. That would be enough. Then, in my 3rd year, I happened to meet a friend from Beta Bye. I asked if she knew someone named Si Qianji. She told me he was something of a legend on campus. Studied there for 1 year, then went abroad for further studies. Bye added with interest. Lots of girls liked him, but he said he already had someone he liked, and he was waiting for her to come. We all thought the girl was repeating the final year. In the first semester of his 2nd year, he was supposedly asking around for a girl, checking the freshman lists and all. Maybe she still didn't get in, otherwise why would he leave the country? I couldn't smile. I excused myself to the restroom and cried in a stall. For my masters, I chose Beta with a different kind of hope. But I never ran into him again. Now, 9 years later, I thought I had finally forgotten him. But hearing him say, I'm the one who should be upset, I didn't even dare feel grievance anymore. It was my fault. I was the one who chose to leave him. Even as a lawyer who'd handled many cases and could hold my own in court, I now found myself speechless and hesitant. Then cool fingertips brushed my cheek, and he gently pulled me into an embrace. Don't cry, Moon. I told you it hurts me to see. Only then did I realize I was crying. It felt a bit embarrassing. He kissed my forehead. I missed you so much. For so many days and nights. I felt I was being unreasonable. I was the one who left him. Yet I was the one who couldn't let go. And now I was the one crying. That apology I never got to say back then finally found its chance today. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. He let out a long sigh, carrying a sense of relief I hadn't known before. It's enough that you're back. I nibbled at the bread, occasionally stealing glances at him. When I sensed he was about to look over, I quickly lowered my eyes. The breakfast felt both strange and warm. After he finished, he naturally cleared things away. The kitchen was open plan. I sat on the sofa, watching him finish tidying up before he came and sat beside me. He studied me for a moment. Your eyes aren't as red now. From now on, eat breakfast every day on time. I nodded. You can't delete my WeChat. I nodded again. Tell me about your life these past years. Mid-nod, I stopped. You don't want to. His voice softened. Then we don't have to. Meeting his eyes, I saw they were filled only with me. After a moment's hesitation, I said, It's not that I don't want to. After getting off the plane, I used my aunt's phone to check my results. English, being the last subject, was about 10 points lower than usual. Based on previous year's cutoffs, getting into Beta would be difficult. To be safe, I put Z University as my first choice. Later, when the admission line came out, I realized I actually could have made it, just not into their law program. But even if I could have, I probably wouldn't have chosen Beta anyway. I was afraid of running into Zhiqianji. The odds were too high at the same university. How would I face him then? Yet, there was a tiny part of me that hoped, just once, to see him again. So I stayed in the capital at Z University. My university life was ordinary. To improve my eloquence, I joined the debate team to hone my skills. In the final debate tournament of my third year, Z University's team faced Beda's in the finals. I met a very renowned law professor from Beda, who offered me an invitation for postgraduate studies. I was tempted. Beyond academics, I wanted to see the university I'd once dreamed of, and maybe walk the paths Zhiqianji had walked. After that came the routine of postgraduate studies, busy internships, joining a law firm, and becoming a lawyer. Zhiqianji listened intently, his gaze deep. Did you ever think of me? I bit my lip. Moon, you can't be this cruel. Every time I called and heard your phone was switched off, I felt like I was going mad. I found Lin Yin. She said you'd only sent her one message saying you were leaving Haikeng. But you didn't spare even one message for me. Even the day before, you'd agreed to meet me. The corners of his eyes were tinged with red. My heart ached with a dull, pervasive pain. After a long pause, all I could manage was a feeble apology. I'm sorry. Zhiqianji stroked my cheek with his thumb. Then, for my sake, come back to me, okay? Moon, I want to be your boyfriend. My mind buzzed. I saw the plea in his eyes. I'd seen him at his most brilliant, watched his unshakable composure, lost myself in the gentleness of his gaze. But I'd never seen him, this radiant person, wearing an expression of entreaty. In that moment, I stopped thinking about the gap between us. I missed him too much, regretted too deeply the cowardly decision I'd made back then. I buried myself in his arms. Okay. Zhiqianji was overjoyed. He held me tightly, as if trying to press me into his very being. Moon. Moon. I'm here. Moon. I'm here. You're saying you're back together with Zhiqianji? Bai's voice rose. I gestured for her to lower it, then said sheepishly, It's not exactly back together. More like, we're together now. Have you let go of the past? She asked, a note of caution in her tone. My fingers, tracing the rim of my cup, stilled. Then I said firmly, Bye. I don't want to make him sad anymore. Under Bai's follow-up question, I told her everything that had happened the previous day. Her mood shifted quickly, a knowing smile spreading across her face. So there really are men who wait nearly 10 years for a girl. You. She suddenly grabbed my hand. You two have to stay together forever. I want to drink at your wedding. I laughed. We're just at the beginning. Toward evening, Zhiqianji sent a message. XQ. Finished talking? I'll come pick you up. Me. Okay. I'll wait. Bye teased. Huh. Once you have a man, I'm left all alone, huh? I gave her a light kick, telling her to behave. She picked up her bag. Your boyfriend will be here soon. I'll head off first. I nodded. When Ziqianj arrived, the cafe was nearly empty. Where's your friend? I looked up, letting him gently touch my cheek. She left already. Ziqianj picked up my bag. Let's go. I'll take you to dinner. The mini bag looked almost comical in his large hand. Back in the car, he leaned over to fasten my seatbelt. Then, unexpectedly, he kissed my cheek. I stared at him, stunned. The corner of his mouth lifted. I wanted to kiss your lips, but I was afraid you'd think I was moving too fast. Suddenly feeling bold, I unfastened my seatbelt and under his surprised gaze, kissed the corner of his mouth. Pulling back, flushed, I said, I wouldn't. His expression changed instantly. He wrapped one arm around my waist, pulling me toward him. Compared to my superficial touch, like a dragonfly skimming a water's surface, his kiss went deeper. His cool lips contrasted with the warm breath against my skin. He moved against my mouth until I grew soft and pliant, my defenses lowering without my realizing. Our tongues gently met and intertwined. Gradually, I grew lightheaded. Moon, breathe. He pulled back slightly, his eyes like swirling mist. Shyly, I buried my face in his shoulder. He stroked my back, letting me catch my breath. You're so experienced. Unlike me, he seemed completely unfazed. He chuckled softly near my ear. Because I've rehearsed it countless times in my dreams. His voice was husky, undeniably alluring. I looked up at him. Haven't you been in a relationship all this time? All these years, not even once? No. Because I was always thinking of a certain heartless girl. Then he countered. And you? His fingers traced my neck, making me wonder if he'd actually ring it if I said yes. No. He looked satisfied and gave my lips a light peck. It felt like we'd skipped the getting-to-know-you phase and jumped straight into the honeymoon period. He took me shopping, patiently picking out one outfit after another, urging me to try them on. We were like any ordinary couple. The day would have been perfect, if not for running into Ziqianji's mother. I knew that deciding to be with Ziqianji meant I'd see his mother again someday. I just hadn't expected it so soon. The attendant at the luxury boutique greeted her respectfully. Good evening, Mrs. Z. 9 years hadn't changed her much. When she saw me, her brow furrowed slightly. It's been a while, I replied. It has. Ziqianj stood beside me, quickly sensing something off. You know each other. Not a question, a statement. Mrs. Z glanced at him. Indeed, we met once, long ago. Student Liang seems more mature now, but otherwise hasn't changed a bit. Her words held clear irony. I guess she meant I was still as naive as ever. Ziqian frowned. Before he could speak, I tugged his sleeve. Mrs. Z looks as young as ever too. She gave a light laugh, then turned to Ziqianj. You haven't been home in quite some time. Come back tomorrow. I have something to discuss with you. Ziqianji's tone was cold. Good timing. I have something to discuss with you as well. After Mrs. Z left, I lost interest in shopping. I tugged Ziqianji's sleeve. Let's go back. He took my hand. All right. He kept his emotions well contained, telling me about his life while I was away during the drive. From his account, I learned his university years were as brilliant and eventful as ever. When we arrived, he held me back just as I was about to get out of the car. What's wrong? I asked softly. He pressed his lips together. You're just going like that. Suddenly remembering how couples on TV always kiss before parting. I hesitated briefly, then kissed his forehead. Not satisfied, he pulled me into a deeper kiss, lingering on my lips before finally letting me go. Once his car had driven off, I touched my face. It was burning. What I didn't know was that after Ziqianj drove away, he accelerated to the speed limit, heading straight for the Z family home. I got busy recently, having taken on a new case. Qianj leaned on the sofa, watching me organize documents. I thought you said you wouldn't take this kind of case. I recalled I probably mentioned it in conversation. Most of my cases were criminal litigation, relationship disputes. I'd only handled one right after graduation. That one experience left me with lasting distaste. The client tearfully recounted the abuse she'd suffered. After I painstakingly gathered evidence, she informed me they had reconciled. She even tried to skip out on the legal fees. Since then, I'd avoided such cases entirely. I turned to look at Qianj. This one is different. She's being domestically abused. Qianj's pupils contracted. I knew he was thinking of painful memories. Before he could speak, I ruffled his hair. Don't worry. I want to help her. This client wasn't a simple relationship dispute. Her name was Jiu Shaoli. When she came to me with her documents, her eyes held a desperate hope, like someone drowning clinging to a lifeline. That one look made me take the case. She was smart. After being beaten, she went to the hospital and kept the records. She took photos and even had home surveillance footage. I asked her, "What do you want as the outcome?" She said firmly, "Divorce. Custody of my child. And if possible, put him in prison." Resolute and unyielding. Suddenly I thought of my mother all those years ago, enduring silently for so long, her final act of resist ending so tragically. Pushing the emotion down, I asked one more question. "What made you decide to leave him?" She paused. "For myself, and so my child can grow up in the sunlight." In her, I saw something entirely different from my mother. Then, hesitantly, she added, "Lawyer Liang, I know hiring a lawyer is expensive. I don't have the money right now. Could I owe it to you for now?" Afraid I'd refuse, she hurried on. "I'll definitely pay it back." I smiled. "Don't worry. If you can't afford it, I can take your case pro bono." Qianj listened quietly, his expression still troubled. I cupped his face. "And I need your help." "With what?" he asked. She graduated from a top university, majored in human resources management. Is your company hiring? Could you help her get past the initial screening, at least to the interview stage? She's been a stay-at-home mom since marrying. For a better chance at custody, having a job and her own income would make a huge difference. Qianj nodded. Of course. Night deepened. I checked the time. You should head back. He didn't move, still holding me. Qianj? He looked up, his hand stroking my back. Don't send me away. It's been a week. I gave you time to adjust. I was confused. Adjust to what? Let's live together. He said it seriously. I want to see you first thing every morning. I want to hold you whenever I can. I want to kiss you, and even... My face grew hot. I covered his mouth. Stop talking. The eyes above my hand held a heavy intensity. I looked away, trying to pull out of his embrace. His arms tightened around me. Is that a yes? His lips brushed mine as he spoke, his warm breath against my skin. Let me go first. As my lips moved against his, I saw his expression shift and felt an internal alarm go off. He gently pressed me back against the sofa. Remember the tutoring fees you owed me? I thought back. What about them? His voice was husky, filled with longing, close to my ear. I'm ready to collect. In the rise and fall of the night, a hazy thought drifted through my mind. So he'd been planning this for a very long time. I dreamed of that day again, my father's eyes wide open, fixed on the doorway. I'd lost count of how many times. By now, I could even be aware I was dreaming. I struggled awake. Carefully moved Qianji's hand from my waist, and slipped quietly out of the room. We'd stayed up late, and the poor sleep left my head spitting. After taking ibuprofen, the light flicked on. Qianj came over, concerned. What's wrong? Are you unwell? Night always made me feel more dependent. When he approached, I wrapped my arms around his waist. A nightmare. My head hurts. He immediately began massaging my temples gently. What was it about? The soothing pressure felt wonderful. I closed my eyes. About my parents. Qianj paused almost imperceptibly. Does this happen often? I thought for a moment. It used to. Less now. He had me let go, then knelt to meet my eyes. How many times a week? 3 or 4. He looked serious. I tried to lighten the mood. Don't worry. It's already Friday, and this is only the first time this week. Maybe it's related to the new case. It'll pass once it's over. He frowned, lost in thought. After a while, he ventured carefully. Moon. After you finish this case, would you let me take you to see a therapist? This frequency is already affecting your sleep. I'm worried about your health. I was taken aback. All these years I never considered the psychological aspect. My fingertips gently smoothed the furrow between his brows. All right. He kissed the corner of my mouth. Let's go back to sleep for now. He carried me back to bed. Once under the covers, I curled against him. He patted my back softly, soothing me like a child until I drifted off. The second half of the night I slept deeply and peacefully. The trial took place 3 days later. With our solid evidence, the proceedings weren't particularly difficult. After leaving the courthouse, an elderly woman stopped me. Her words were venomous, as if I were the most evil person alive. Black-hearted Liang Yue, destroying families. Jiu Shaoli, walking beside me, stepped in front of me. What are you saying? Spit. You slut, you must have someone else. Slut. That word had once been hurled at my mother too. After my father's release, every drunken episode included that slur. I'd always known Uncle Huang couldn't have had inappropriate feelings for my mother. He'd had a wife who died in a car accident. I'd seen him holding her photo, eyes red, telling me, if she was still alive, our child would be about your age. In fact, he was the first to tell me education could change one's fate. He said, Liang Yue, the only thing in life we can't choose is our birth. But beyond that, you can control everything in your life. For people like us, education is the best way out. So study hard. A man like him would never stoop to such things. But my father refused to believe it. During his violent episodes, he'd plaster my mother with every filthy word. Slut was the most common. I said to the elderly woman, publicly insulting others can constitute defamation if the circumstances are serious. If I choose to, I can take you to court. I advise you to think before you speak. Perhaps intimidated, she glared at me hatefully before storming off. Ji Shaoli looked at me apologetically. I'm so sorry, Liang Yue Liang. I never expected her to be like this. I gave her a small smile. Mama, a child's voice called from a distance. I looked over. The child broke free from the adult holding her hand and rushed into Jiu Zhaoli's arms. Mama, I missed you so much. The child nuzzled her mother's cheek, whispering her longing. Over the past few days, the child had stayed with relatives. Jiu Shaoli kissed her daughter's face. Mama missed you too. Sunlight bathed the mother and daughter. Pure and lovely. My phone vibrated in my bag. I swiped to answer. Finished? I'm here. I looked up. Ziqianj stepped out of his car and waved in my direction. He stood bathed in sunlight, glowing. Without thinking, I started walking toward him, then faster and faster. The moment I rushed into his arms, my hollow heart suddenly felt full. He caught me, staggering back 2 steps from the impact. What's wrong? I looked up at him. Nothing. I just missed you. I missed you. Even though I saw you first thing this morning. Even though it's only been a few hours. I still missed you. From the moment we parted, I've been waiting to see you again. And when we meet, I'll run to you with a heart full of joy. Epilogue. Ziqianja's perspective. I took Moon to see a therapist. The doctor said it was a psychological barrier, but not severe. Starting 9 years ago, she'd subconsciously blamed herself for her parents' deaths. So she felt guilt, fear and unease. But later, she received good care. Her heart remained full of kindness and love for the world. I remembered her talking about her aunt's family. She said they truly treated her like their own daughter. I was grateful her mother had left her with such loving relatives, giving her a home to rely on during those painful years. That love helped her live well until today, but deep inside, traces of despair from her original family remained. She never forgot, she simply hid it away. Dreams were one way her subconscious surfaced. I asked the doctor what I should do. She trusts you deeply. All you need to do is be there for her. Being there was simple for me. I'd waited for her so many years. Now, every second she was with me, I wanted to tuck her into my pocket. Never apart. After that, I tried hard to leave work earlier, spending more time with her. But there were still times we had to separate. Business required me to go abroad for a few days. I counted the hours, calling her whenever I could. It felt like the first time we'd been so far apart since reuniting. Watching her on video, buried in case files, I couldn't help asking, Moon, I miss you. Do you miss me? She looked up from the documents, momentarily startled, a faint blush spreading on her cheeks. Yes, so much. Her honesty thrilled me. I wanted to fly back to her side immediately. I compressed the remaining schedule, worked through 2 days and nights, and finally could return. I kept it a surprise, slipping quietly into the bedroom. Only when I saw her peaceful sleeping face did I feel truly settled and content. Where the heart finds peace, there is home. That was when the thought struck me with full force. I wanted to build a real home with Moon. So I started preparing. To many who knew me, it probably seemed rash. Apart from friends from high school, most were surprised by Moon's sudden appearance. In their eyes, I'd known this girl for less than half a year, and was already talking marriage. Wasn't that madness? My mother's reaction was even stronger. I don't agree. I gave a derisive laugh. If not for her, Moon and I wouldn't have been apart all those years. Your agreement isn't necessary. I'm only informing you. The proposal wasn't elaborate. While she was at the law firm, I set up the decorations and a camera. Then I texted that I was too busy to pick her up. The following hours were spent in anxious waiting. I was actually afraid she might refuse. I could face multi-million-dollar contracts without blinking, remain composed in high-stakes negotiations. But with Moon, I was always afraid of the slightest misstep. Marriage would she accept? The electronic lock beeped. Hiding in the room with the bouquet, I nervously swallowed. Then I heard her soft gasp. I stepped out at the right moment, knelt on one knee under her astonished gaze. Moon, will you marry me? As soon as the words left my mouth, I saw tears welling in her eyes. Panicked, my first thought was to comfort her. Moon, don't cry. Her red-rimmed eyes made my heart ache. I started to rise, wanting to wipe her tears. She shook her head, held out her hand through her sob, and said, I will. Those 3 words were the second most beautiful I'd ever heard. Second only to Moon saying, I love you. Unable to contain my joy, I picked her up and spun her around several times before holding her tight. Moon, I love you. I love you so much. I'm still amazed that you, the girl who carefully pulled out the chair beside me, the one who gently said, hello, the one who frowned over a difficult problem, would become the one I couldn't forget all these years. The video was edited and posted. It showed the entire preparation process, researching online, shopping in person, setting everything up myself. Friends quickly liked and commented, all with blessing. Moon, curled in my arms, laughed softly. Aren't CEOs supposed to arrange seas of flowers and all that? You just scattered some petals, laid out candles, and blew up a few balloons? A bit tacky too. I raised an eyebrow. But weren't you moved? She wrapped her arms around my neck. Smiling, yet serious, she said, moved. Super moved. But, will your parents agree? Her soft, hesitant look made my thoughts wander. Resisting the urge to kiss her, I said, Moon, I'm the one who wants to be with you. Our life is for us to live. It has nothing to do with anyone else. She wanted to ask more, but I decided something else was more important. I sealed her lips with mine, following instinct. As the wedding date approached, my mother met Moon once more. Moon told me about it later. She agreed. Said we should be happy together. Moon explained. It's strange she was much warmer to me this time. Said she wasn't there enough when you were young, so she can't control you now. She also said you're still mother and son. No need for things to be ugly between you. Were you two not close before? Moon asked cautiously. My relationship with my parents wasn't close. Their marriage was one of convenience. My father in politics, my mother in business. Their union was a calculated alliance. As long as I could remember, they rarely appeared at home together. Over time, my relationship with them grew distant. After graduation, I initially planned to start my own business. My mother begged me to join the Bai family enterprise. She could no longer handle the relatives eyeing the company. When I entered Bai Corp, she intended to use me as a pawn. But later, I gained enough control to steer the entire corporation. The power dynamic flipped, and she began to fear me. So our relationship shifted from distant to one where she now depended on me to maintain her position in the company. When I realized Moon's departure years ago was related to my mother, I confronted her that same night. I warned her. If she ever made Moon leave again, Bicorp would truly become the Z Corporation, and she would lose all influence. When Moon said my mother agreed, it was because I made her. I didn't care about my mother's attitude, but Moon did. So I made my mother show Moon she wouldn't oppose us anymore. My mother, wary of my position in Bicorp, naturally complied. Whether she meant it or not didn't matter. At least Moon felt more at ease. Moon didn't need to know the twisted details. My girl had endured too much bitterness to reach me. Now, she only needed to taste the sweetness I offered. It's all right. She just didn't involve herself much. We're not close. Something in that sentence touched her. The moment I finished, her eyes softened with feel distressed. I seized the opportunity. So Moon has to be extra good to me from now on. Don't ever leave me again. She hugged me tightly. Never, never again. Taking advantage she couldn't see, I quietly smiled. At the wedding, we invited many high school classmates. They all congratulated us on finally making it. Liang Yue hugged Moon, crying especially loudly. Back then you just left, only sending me a text. How could you? The next second she was beaming, turning to me. Ziqianj, you should thank me. I worked so hard to create alone time for you two in high school. Later, when Moon told me the details of Lin Yin's help, I introduced her to a friend as thanks. Moon said they were getting along well, so this CEO also played matchmaker once. And her friend Lin bye-bye. I lost count of how many times I mentally thanked her for choosing to get drunk that night. If not for her, I might never have found Moon again. I gave her a red envelope. The amount was double what she'd paid in compensation. She was delighted and thanked me profusely. I teased. Thank you for your drunken kindness. Moon recently found a box. Inside were many things from high school. Hey, you kept this exercise book. There are drawings in it too. This page is your current profile picture. It was like discovering treasure. Each page sparked memories, which she eagerly shared with me. When she shook the book, a drawing slipped out. It was of Moon. She looked at me delighted. When did you draw this? I said. The first time you asked if you could see what I was drawing. She thought back. You told me you were drawing the moon. I smiled. I didn't lie. It was the moon. Liang Yue's moon, my moon. She understood, put the drawing down and threw herself into my arms, hiding her shyness. I just realized you liked me even earlier than I thought. I stroked her hair, thinking back to when I'd started liking her. There wasn't an exact moment. If I had to choose, maybe it was that day. When she sat beside me, I was slightly annoyed at suddenly having someone next to me. Later, seeing her quiet and careful, trying not to disturb me, I thought having a deskmate might not be so bad after all. Discovering she was good at math surprised me a little. Then, watching her patiently explain problems to others, or frown over a difficult question for a long time, I found her cute. When I caught myself unconsciously writing her name on scrap paper, I realized my heart had stirred. So when you looked over, I'd hide it. Hide the fluster of a youthful crush. Back then, I didn't know that a teenage fondness could span so many years and last until today. Moon, you don't know. Every time I call you that, it's proof my heart is beating for you.